Now, let's implement an API to create a tour rating. But can all the attributes of a tour rating be sent in the request body? Well, let's look at tour rating. So we have an attribute score that can easily be sent. It's just an integer. A comment is a string. That's fine. Tour rating PK, let's look inside that. We have a tour and a customer ID. Well, a customer ID is fine, but the client would likely send the tour identifier, not the entire tour. So we should create a data transfer object to encapsulate the request body. So in this web folder, I have in the exercise file a rating DTO. And so the attributes on the rating DTO are the score, a comment, and a customer ID. We don't have the tour ID in here because that's going to be a parameter on the URL. And so we can apply Java validations on here. The minimum score is 0. The maximum score is 5. The maximum number of characters in the comment string is 255. And the customer ID is not null. So whenever this rating DTO is passed in to the create method as a request body, Java will do the validation for us. So now we need to implement a controller method. This controller method will have to validate the request body, as we talked about, validate the tour ID by looking up the tour. If it does not exist, then return an HTTP status 404. We'll have to instantiate a new tour rating, persist it, and then return a 201 or created status. So let's implement the method to create a tour rating. We're in the tour rating controller, and just to let you know, in the exercise files, I've created a couple helper methods in this class. One is verify tour, which given the tour ID, it will look up the tour. If it finds that that tour does not exist, a no such element exception is thrown. If it does find it, it returns the tour. I also have an exception handler, which will trap any no such element exceptions, get the string message off the exception, and then return an HTTP status not found, which is a 404, back to the client. So we want to create the tour rating, and this will follow the path tours/tour ID/ratings. So create tour rating. We need to specify the path variable for the tour ID. And we also need the request body, which is the rating DTO. Applying Java validations. Now let's put the proper annotations at the beginning of the method. So we're going to say request mapping. The method is requestMethod.post. And then we want to say the response status is if successful. And that status will be HTTP status.created. Now the body of the method. First, we want to verify the tour and look it up. So if the tour is not found, an exception will be thrown. If it is found, it will proceed to this next line. So we're going to create a new tour rating, persist it to the database, and we'll do that all in one line. New tour rating and a new tour rating PK. The parameters of that are the tour and the customer ID. Now we need the score and the comment. Oh, and I put an extra comma in there. Let's move that out. So now let's create some tour ratings. So the URL is localhost 8080 tours. And then we need to give a tour ID. Let's just say the ID is 1. And then the ratings, it's a post. So because it's a post, we need a request body of type JSON. Let's say that a rating was provided that this person really liked the tour, so they gave it a 5. The comment was, I thought it was great. And the customer ID, let's say it's 1. So let's send that. And we get back a 201 created. We just created a tour rating. And now let's try our validation to see if that's working properly. So let's say that the person put in a 10 for a score, which we know that that's invalid. And we get back a 400 bad status, so that's applying the Java validations. That's working. And now let's see if the code that we wrote that looks up the tour is working properly. So we're saying, say the tour 99, and we know that there's only 30 tours in the database, so 99 is invalid. Let's see what happens. 404 not found. That's working too. So now we have a working API to create tour ratings.